This video is not going to be a bunch of stats that you already know, like Michael Jordan won 5 MVPs or he led the Bulls to 2 3-peats. No, this video has been made to give you stats that you don't already know. Stats that prove that Michael Jordan was not a human like us, but instead was more of a basketball god. For anyone new to this channel, my name is Mike. I hope you're having an awesome day and I hope you enjoy the video. He is the only player in NBA history to win 2 gold medals, an NCAA championship and an NBA championship. After the Bulls started the 1991 season 0-3, Jordan never lost 3 straight games again when he was on the court as a Bull, which means in 500 games across 6 seasons, the Bulls never had any real losing streak. Included in that was the 96 season, of course, where Chicago won 72 games. But we're not counting that as a stat because we're not doing basic stuff this video. During his playing career, Mike only slept 4 hours a night on average. And before the 1992 gold medal game for the Dream Team, he did not go to sleep and still scored 22 points to lead Team USA to a 32-point victory. The man is not a mere mortal who requires sleep. He's more like a superhuman. If you take out the 1986 season where he missed a majority of the year with a foot injury, then Michael Jordan missed a grand total of 7 games with the Bulls from 1985 to 1998. That's 7 games missed out of 916 total games. And Michael Jordan played every single game in his last 3 championship seasons. This includes the playoffs, which means in these 3 seasons, he played 100 games, 101 games, and 103 games without sitting a single day. This was between the ages of 32 and 35. The man also never missed a playoff game in his career. The Bulls played 179 playoff games, and Jordan was on the court for every single one. And if you still don't understand just how inhuman he was, he played in all 82 games in the 2003 season when he was 40 years old. There were no 2-week breaks in the middle of the season for Jordan. Night in and night out, you could expect him to be on the court giving 100% effort, as demonstrated by the fact that in his time with the Bulls, Jordan only scored less than 10 points 1 time. And the one time he did score in single digits was in 1986, when he was recovering from a broken foot and only played in 16 minutes due to a minutes restriction. He still scored 8 points. His lowest points per game in a full season was 28.2. He was a 21-year-old rookie when he averaged those 28.2 points per game. His highest points per game average in a season was 37.1, a season in which he also averaged 5.2 rebounds, 4.6 assists, 2.9 steals, and 1.5 blocks a game. 2 months away from his 39th birthday, he became the oldest player in NBA history to score 50 points in a game when he dropped 51 points on the Hornets. And if you think all this man could do was score, well, in 1989, the Bulls briefly experimented with Jordan playing point guard. While leading the offense, he dropped 10 triple-doubles in 11 games. A crazy amount, as in his entire career, he only had 28 triple-doubles. And in that span, he averaged 33.6 points per game, 11.4 assists per game, 10.8 rebounds per game, and 2.9 steals per game, but decided to move back to the shooting guard spot because he was more comfortable there. Now, back to scoring. In every full season he played from 1985 and from 1987 to 1998, he led the league in points. That means that every single season, including his rookie year and except for the year that he broke his foot, Jordan led the league in scoring. In every full season he played from 1985 and from 1987 to 1998, he also led the league in field goals. And from 1997 to 1998, in every full season he played, he led the league in points per game. He was putting up these numbers while remaining incredibly efficient. From 1987 to 1997, in every full season he played, MJ led the league in win shares. His other 2 full seasons as a Bull, 1985 and 1998, he finished 2nd. And he was also 1st in the NBA in PER from 1987 to 1993, which makes sense because he has the highest career PER in NBA history with a 27.91 average. And on the defensive end, he is the all-time blocks leader for a guard with 893 in his career. He holds the single season record for blocks by a guard with 131 in 1988. And he is the only guard to get 200 steals and 100 blocks in a season, which he did twice in 1987 and 1988. While he accomplished these many incredible feats in the regular season, his playoff career was even more impressive. Just listen to this. In 179 playoff games, Michael Jordan never scored less than 10 points in a single playoff game. He also only scored less than 20 points 6 times, and he scored over 15 points in all 179 of those games, which is a consecutive game record for most games with at least 15 points in the NBA playoffs. He set the record for most consecutive 20-point games in the playoffs when he scored 20 points or more in 65 straight games between the 1989 playoffs and the 1993 playoffs, and he had had the most consecutive field goals in a playoff game with 13 against the Lakers in the 1991 NBA Finals. Sticking with these consecutive records, he is the only player in NBA history with consecutive 50-point games in the playoffs, as he started off the 1988 playoffs against the Cavs with 50 points in Game 1 and 55 points in Game 2. Speaking of total numbers in the playoffs, Jordan has the most 30-point games in NBA playoffs history with 109. The next most is Kobe, who had 20 less than Michael. He also had the most 40-point games in the playoffs with 38. The next had almost half the amount as Mike. And to nobody's surprise, he has the most 50-point games in the playoffs with 8. Wilt Chamberlain is second on this list with only 4. He began this record of most 50-point games in the playoffs by setting the record for most points in a playoff game, when he dropped 63 against the eventual champion Boston Celtics in 1986. He finished Game 1 of that series with 49 points, and after the series was over, Larry Bird told reporters that MJ wasn't a normal player. Instead, the man wearing 23 for the Bulls was God disguised as Michael Jordan. In that 1986 series, he finished with a 43.67 point per game average, which is the highest points per game in one playoffs by one player in NBA history. But he only played in 3 games that year. What was more impressive was that in 1992, he finished the playoffs with 759 total points, the most by one player in NBA history. And for his career, he holds the total record for points in the playoffs with 5,987. The total record for points per game in the playoffs with a 33.45 average. No one else has averaged even 30 points a game. The total record for free throws in a playoffs with 1,463. And the career average for PER in the playoffs with a staggering 28.6 average. And while these playoff records are incredibly impressive, the place where NBA legends build their legacy is in the NBA Finals. And in the finals, the Chicago Bulls finished with a 6-0 record with Jordan on the court, and they never played in a Game 7. In those finals games, Michael never had a game in which he scored less than 20 points, setting a consecutive game record in the NBA Finals with 35 straight games of at least 20 points. He also only had 4 finals games in which he scored less than 25 points. And in the 1993 finals, he cemented his place as the most dominant player in NBA history, as he set the record for most consecutive games in the NBA Finals with at least 40 points, when he scored 40 or more points in games 2, 3, 4, and 5. This included a 55-point explosion in Game 4. In those same 1993 finals, Mike also set the record for most points per game in one finals with 41 points per game against Phoenix, after Charles Barkley had just won the MVP over Jordan in a crime of an MVP decision. To show everyone just how wrong they were, Michael scored at least 30 points in every single game in the 1993 finals. He finished his career with a 33.6 points per game average in the finals, which is second to only Rick Barry, who only played in 10 games. The year before, though, Michael had the most impressive half of a finals game of any player in NBA history, as leading into the finals, the media tried to build up a rivalry between Michael and Clyde Drexler, stating that while Michael was the better scorer, perhaps Clyde was in Jordan's league because he was a better shooter. In response to this, Michael made 6 3-pointers in the first half of Game 1, a record for most 3-pointers in one half of an NBA Finals game that stood until Ray Allen made 7. And this was even more impressive than it seems because Michael only made 27 3-pointers in the entire 1992 season. In this first half, he also set the record for most points in one half of the NBA Finals with 35, a record that he made one of the most iconic moments in NBA history with this shrug. And moving on a little, when he was 35 and playing in the last NBA Finals game of his career, he put up 45 points to help secure a Bulls championship. And in that last game ever, with 40 seconds left and the Bulls down by 3 points, Michael Jordan proceeded to win the NBA championship by himself, as he was the only player on the Bulls to touch the ball in those 40 seconds. First, he drove the lane and scored an effortless layup to cut the lead to 1. Then the Jazz came down and gave the ball to Karl Malone in the post. Watch as Jordan steals the ball from Malone, then brings the ball up and calls for an isolation. From here, he would go on to sink a game-winning jumper that gave him his 6th and final ring. Which brings us to fact 50, and to finish this all off, the saddest fact on this list comes in 1996, where Michael Jordan led the Chicago Bulls to a finals-clinching win on Father's Day. In the locker room after the game, Michael collapsed in tears as he was overcome with emotion, proving that while he may have been a god on the court, he was very much a human off it. And there we have it, guys, 50 facts that prove Michael Jordan was a god. Now, of course, I don't mean an actual god, I mean a basketball god, because the man did some inhuman things when he was out there on the court. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe if you're new. This is an NBA basketball channel. I make videos like this. I look at NBA what ifs. I look at NBA history and conspiracies. Basically, if it involves the NBA and it's interesting, then I'll make a video on it. So I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and to anyone who is already a sub, thank you guys so much for your support. It means so much to me. Without you, I'm nothing in this YouTube game. And as always, have an awesome day and cue that music.
All these people really discussing my career again, asking if I'll be going platinum in a year again. Don't I got this shit the world wanna hear again? No Michael Jordan still got his hoop earring in. Man, all of your flows bore me, paint drying, and I don't ever be tripping off of what ain't mine.